All right, everybody, welcome back to Fishies Live for another Friday. We're doing a bit of a behind the scenes because it is Fishies Members Night, so there's drinking, pizza and food going on and a lot of connections being made, but we're lucky enough to have Josh here with us. Josh is one of our alumni. He's working on a really exciting startup. So Josh, first of all, tell everyone about what your startup is, what you're working on.
Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Friday. We started our company 3 years ago, actually in Fishies, finally.
Yeah.
So basically what we're trying to achieve is we're trying to make data and analytics more accessible. So specifically for like websites and that sort of thing, because they're quite complicated. Usually there's a lot of coding involved, a lot of heavy lifting, all that sort of thing. So we wanted to simplify it down to one line of code and also overlay that data onto your actual website so you can point and click. So kind of like what Windows did for operating systems. And we're doing the same sort of thing for analytics, essentially.
Yeah. So obviously, as a marketer, that's a massive challenge in terms of analytics, right? But you're looking at probably targeting not every single company or every single business. What's kind of the main area or business focus that you're looking for from a customer's perspective?
It's pretty much just conversion growth. So very much like e-com, in services, that sort of thing. They're kind of customers that we target.
Yeah.
Anyone who, it's kind of like we help understand what customers don't know about their websites, essentially, because we capture everything and we basically go, we can actually pick out everything and say, these are the reasons why your customers actually are converting, and we can actually show you.
And that's hugely important for a number of different reasons, simply because it's so hard to analyze everything. So we want to have, ideally, we're all trying to work towards machines being able to analyze that, but also trusting that machines can analyze it. So that's really interesting, and I reckon we'll get into that a little bit more, but like over 3 years of running a startup, I'm sure you've had a bit of a journey. So maybe take us a little bit through that and what it's been like, and maybe even if Fishies has helped in any way, and then we'll talk about advice you would give to budding startup mentors out there.
Fishies actually gave us a really good platform because one, it's a really cost-effective way to actually get in and start being around the right people. And I think for us, there's probably two really big things that helped me. And I was actually reflecting on this yesterday, funnily. Finding a really good co-founder who is a bit different to you and will challenge you. So one person should be more frugal, one person should be more optimistic, all that sort of stuff. So really be able to bounce ideas and finding a really good co-founder to help you is actually really, it's going to help you a lot. But also the right environment, so being around the right people who you can bounce ideas off, because you won't actually know everything, and most of what I've learned and has actually helped us get where we are has actually been stuff that other people have known. So it's been through the investor networks, even the networks at Fishies and the community here, that sort of stuff. You'd be surprised at who knows stuff that can actually help. So being around this sort of community really helps.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big challenges as a startup founder, as you know, is like when I was not running a startup, I'm focusing on being the best marketer I can be. And when you're running a business or being a startup founder, you have to understand everything else that goes along with that. Trying to find the right accountants, the right lawyers, the right people that you can trust. So and obviously being around everybody who has a different outlook in this place, but all trying to solve a goal or solve a problem. May not be the same problem as yours, but some of the challenges are the same in terms of, lawyer issues, IP issues, wages issues, how do I get into certain markets? What were perhaps 1, 2 or 3 key lessons or things that you learned from a Fishies perspective, or just while you were here, that kind of stand out as if I'd known this at the start, it would have been made my life so much more easier, and I'm sure you're probably got a truckload of them, but...
I think, kind of maybe following on from what you were saying before, one of the biggest ones is the faster you realise that you actually can't do it all and you're probably stuck on a lot of stuff is really important, because if you need to work with other people, you kind of need to be really open to feedback and also know when you should just get someone else in. Sure, you can probably learn to do stuff and do it yourself, but it's not going to be the fastest way. The more humble you are, the faster you just ask people for help and go and find the right people. That's going to be that's probably one of the biggest things. I actually found that my co-founder and I, when we realised that and we started to be open to feedback with each other, everything just kind of clicked with us very quickly. Fishies is also where we actually first tested out whether, one, we had an idea, but also that we worked well together.
Yeah.
But I think once even in the first 6 to 12 months or something, we still had a bit of friction because we're both we both know what we're doing, we're both passionate about business, but then actually we needed to realise hey, this is my personality type and I'm really good at these things, but I suck at the others. So like, I'm just going to give them to you. Same sort of thing, right?
Yeah. And it's finding out those little pieces that you know you can grow on. So like, okay, we do work well together, we can communicate, or like this idea has merit because it solves this sort of problem. So like, over 3 years, I'm sure there's been the down moments, but let's talk about the up moments, right? So what were some of the couple of the key moments where you've gone, okay, this absolutely has legs? It might be a case study with a key client, or a moment where you've just got this piece of feedback from someone that you fully admire and just gone, okay, if they think this is in the right spot, I'm in the right spot.
Yeah. I think it was, well, one of the big aha moments as well for me was like, I mean, we obviously believed in the product, so we're like, yeah, we know it works, it should work. But actually seeing it and seeing the result tangibly with a customer, because basically what our platform does, we're trying to like shorten the time frame to get value. And we actually we had an onboarding session with a customer a day after we implemented our code, and the customer within like a few minutes of the onboarding session, we found 50 grand worth. So we're like, does that not pay back the whole contract? So it was like really cool to actually see that was happening. So I think it was like, what is the success metric that you're actually trying to solve for, and actually seeing that tangibly. It could actually be that like your product is, you want to make something more shareable, or like all that sort of thing, but actually seeing that being shared and really taking off, like that's where it's like, this is really cool, you know? No,
I completely understand it. It's always nice to see the benefits of what you get. Now, one of the challenges when you're providing sort of a service, especially whether it's analytics or marketing or anything else, is like you can give the business the advice, you can show them here's what you can solve, and then they don't necessarily execute it, or they don't go away and do it, and it's that head against a brick wall moment I think we've all sort of faced. Like, does your startup from the analytics side, how much do you try and handhold them through to make sure that they execute? How does that kind of partnership part work? Because obviously you're identifying the opportunities. How does that execution part work with a customer?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think with like most products, it's like you kind of think about like what's the onboarding and how will the customer actually take it and self-serve and just own it themselves. It's actually funny because we actually, we'll question customers now and we go like, hey, are you able to do this, or like, if we can't actually solve the problem, or like we can provide all the insights, but you're not going to do anything with it, then maybe we'll come and talk to you when you're ready to roll them out.
And that's absolutely no. And it's interesting. I think one of the lessons you learn, and I think people don't understand, is like if you show that you're there to help the customer, and you're actually making a decision to say, I don't want your money because you're not ready. But when you are ready, we'll be able to save you this much. It literally is just this sense of proof that you're there to help. And I think I've heard stories even from a passionate remarketing sort of side where we've done that, and I think it's nice because that's what gets around. And I think, even around Fishies, we hear about what you've done and how you've helped certain things, and even when it's just the right advice, it's nice to see people actually take it, and then eventually they come and see you.
And I think for us as well, because there is that sort of consulting component, one of the first things that we really wanted to solve is like actually the customer team. We need to have a good customer success team and insights team and that sort of thing to support. And it's funny, like we hired a customer success manager, and he was like, it's weird because most companies I've worked in, and I was brought in really, really late, so I've never seen a company bring in someone
early.
But it's actually like every customer that we have, even if it's not necessarily the right timing to work with us or anything like that, we've actually gone like, we trust you guys, you always like, you just tell us whether we're actually going to provide value, and so we can actually come to you and just ask and go like, hey, do you think it's going to work? And then we'll be like,
I think as someone who's been on the outside, who's probably less so from the last 9 months, but at least prior to that for a good 2 years, one of the things that always impressed me was that there was a sense of retaining our customers was exceedingly important, in the sense of, while we want to onboard them, we want them to get results, we want to make sure that they can use the product. And the benefits for you was always about, then I get good data, then I can understand how I can make sure the analytics is better. But then also I'm learning the onboarding and the other part of how sticky I can make what we do to make our lives easier going forward. And so has there been any sort of maybe lessons or tricks, or it doesn't have to be tricks, sometimes it's just common sense, right, that you've learnt that has helped you to do that maybe is quite useful to a startup at the early part of their journey?
I mean, you're not going to know everything, so I think like you really need to think about what is your customer feedback loop.
Yeah.
It needs to be like pretty good, and you need to be checking in with customers. Even if it's a B2C product, you need to have a way you can actually talk to your customers somehow. And just find out, because like we just did another big review session actually like in the last week or two, and uncovered all this stuff where we're like, oh, like we actually we need to change a bit, but it's all learning, right? Like, you know, we were a smaller company, so we didn't really have the resources to tackle all of it anyway. But it's kind of like you need to have that loop so you can go, what should I be prioritizing first and stuff. And I know it sounds like, you know, broken record, or you know, you've probably heard it 1,000 times, but like genuinely being enthusiastic about customers solving their problem. Not like, oh, have we got market fit and can we sell the product? It's actually like customers definitely feel it when you care about their actual problem. And
and it's sad because it's a differentiator. Like most businesses should be like that, but because it isn't like that, you stand out because people don't act like that. And I think that's something that I think it's also part of the environment that we're in. It's obviously people who think like that attract other people who think like that, and I think that's part of the Fishies place. But I also think that's the bit when we look at who's been successful, they've actively gone on to try and solve someone's problem, and that's been their ultimate purpose, rather than, oh look, here's potentially $10,000, $20,000, $1 million idea, launching it into 10, 20, 50, whatever. So, all right, so we've covered a lot. One of the things I want to make sure is like, where are you guys currently at in your journey? What are you looking to do? Where are you guys looking for your next leg of growth or next sort of support from the wider startup community?
So I mean, currently we left Fishies maybe like end of last year, so we finished a seed round, which is pretty good. So basically where we got to with that was like Fishies really helped us validate like, yes, we can sell it, we've actually got a sales engine, that sort of thing, but again, we didn't have the full fleshed out customer team and the actual engine, but it's kind of like, what are the milestones that we need to hit? So it's like, yes, we can now sell it, and we're not doing founder selling, it's like an actual sales team doing it. But then the next phase is very much like, okay, we need a full engine that can like support and like sustain growth within Australia. Because really what we want to do is we want to test a model that we could then adapt to overseas. So that's really that's essentially the goal. So we've been hiring like a couple different people. We're looking for a growth marketer at the moment. So
excellent.
We are like content marketing.
So what would be the perfect content marketer? With what sort of experience would they have, or what industries would they have worked in?
I mean, any sort of like tech experience, if they can, they're good with like writing and content, that sort of thing.
Good with words, to taking some of the more difficult concepts and making it sound simple to someone like myself who might want to use your system and not seem like they don't know what they're talking about. No, I definitely understand that.
But I think even I was at a Google startup thing yesterday. It was pretty good, but they were talking about like what's a good hire as well, and like we kind of feel pretty similar to them in terms of like you know, we're data people, we like solving problems, so it's like you know, someone who's like open to like solving new problems like kind of outside of their wheelhouse, and also just like they're actually just passionate about tech in the space, because it's like you're not super passionate, then you might be really good at your craft, but you're probably better off writing about like stuff that
part of it is always, even from, I think with anything, you've got to be passionate about the area that you're in, because ultimately that allows you to be really good at the skill that you're in for, but also at a startup level sometimes you have to pick up a couple of areas that maybe aren't yours because it helps the startup grow. A level of generalism alongside the content marketing piece. So if we, obviously it's a wide startup network, if there were 2, 3 or 4 different types of customers that you'd really love to have, whether it's a specific brand name or a type of customer, who might be the next 2 or 3 that you're looking for to kind of help you grow or be the ones you want to next test your software with?
I know it sounds very general, but it's like anyone who's trying to like increase their conversions through their websites, but we pretty much work with, we already work with like top tier e-com and retailers in Australia, and same with like banks and insurers and stuff like that. So
any examples you're allowed to give? I'm mindful that you have some sort of contracts where it says that you can't say who, but
I mean, you can check our website.
Then you're not saying it, which is completely. What is the website again?
It's insidetech.com. Inside and tech, one team.
There we go. So it just combines. Okay, nicely. Insight Ec. Listen, Josh, it's lovely to see you again. It's been a while. It's lovely to see everybody. Sounds really exciting, and you're in a good spot. Is there anything else you want to add and ask for the community before we go? Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone. We're going to go get some pizza and drinks. If you want to come and join us at Fishies, get to the website, come to a Fishies Friday night pitch night, become a member. You can become a virtual member for like $45, $49 a month, which gives you full access to the community, or come and get a desk, meet people like Josh. Unfortunately, meet people like me. Maybe don't do that. But I think we've got man who's going to go and get the next person. You want to sit around and listen to this. Cheers. Bye, guys.